Testing my endurance?
Yes, I was.
Endurance and patience. I got it, man. It is August 20th, 8:47 Central Standard Time. Yes, it's the AM. Welcome aboard to the Crushing Iron Triathlon Podcast, episode 191.
191.
Inching our way towards the 200 mark.
200. That's going to be the last one.
The last one. Wow, news to me. Well,
no, I'm kidding. We're going to 2,000 is the goal.
Oof. That's a lot, but hey, we didn't think we'd make it to 200, so hey, who's to say 2,000 won't happen?
Yeah, one podcast at a time.
That's it. One podcast at a time. It is a good week. We are, man. Can you believe it's almost September?
Yes and no.
Yes and yeah. I'm kind of stunned. August is just blown by. I mean, given it's only the 20th, you still got like a week and a half left. But, you know, that's kind of what we do as triathletes. Like, well, you know, I ran like 16 and a couple more would have been 20. Basically, it's like a full. It's close. I think, I mean, I'm obviously, and, you know, our podcasters, at least here in the listeners in the U.S., can at least appreciate that, yeah, we will be inserting very soon more college football conversation here in the next few weeks. Very excited about that. I know you guys have a game, I think, this weekend? Western Kentucky?
Is it this weekend? Boy, that would be a shocker.
I feel like I looked it up and... Yeah, maybe. See, you guys thought you had another week and a half, and I just totally sabotaged it, and now we're going down that road, because I was looking at the Vol schedule, and we've got a humdinger for a first game for Pruitt. We got West Virginia. Yeah, who's actually going to be, I think, pretty solid this year.
Is it at West Virginia, or is it a neutral game?
I think it's a neutral game. I'll have to go look. I haven't been really up to date on all things college football here the last few weeks, but because I mean, none of it's all pointless. It's like how worthless NFL preseason is. Like, it's total worthless speculation they just spill out because it's the most boring time of the year for sports anyway.
It is rough, man. We play 8:31, so that's 2 weeks. But
okay, 2 weeks away. Yeah, we pay. I think we play first. Good old Western.
Yeah, we got a home and home. No, I don't know if it's a home and home. But anyway, I'm pretty excited about it because it has been, you know, when you're around the house a lot and there's nothing on, like the weekends, man, it was crazy trying to find something to watch. I spent most of the day yesterday watching Mont Tremblant.
Yeah, they actually have decent coverage now.
I know, they're up in at like Tacona levels.
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on yesterday, and it was weird to have like our first weekend without anything like super planned. We had some family pictures yesterday.
Oh man, I can't wait to see them.
Which coincidentally,
can I pick the winner?
Of course you can.
Oh, thanks.
You're basically like family anyway. But it was coincidentally our photographer, who's a family friend, she did our photos last year, picked the stairs at Percy Warner.
For the photos?
For the photos. We weren't actually on the stairs. We were a little bit to the right, but we parked the same parking lot we used for camp and running the stairs and stuff, which oddly enough, I remembered when we were there yesterday afternoon doing it, that was also the site of my senior pictures, summer 1998.
Aww.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, built a little bit differently back then, but hey, it's a great spot. We had a good time. But yeah, we had an athlete there, Alicia Golden, doing racing and did an awesome job. But yeah, I was tracking a little bit online and messaging with Chuck Knuth, who was up there, and although he was on site, it seems that his curse didn't really affect the racing conditions that much. But yeah, great coverage, a great addition from Ironman with this, like, I guess, partnership with Facebook or whatever. But kudos to them, and a great day of racing too. Cody Beals taking the win, and Liz Blatchford with the win on the women's side.
I know. It was I seriously watched quite a bit of it, and it was good. And I was definitely surprised to see Cody hang on. And
Really?
well, I mean, like right out of the gate, you just thought Lionel would kind of just run him down. But then, of course, Marinda Carefree said that for sure Lionel would beat him, but good day for Cody. And I thought that was interesting. But
Can I throw just a little bit of something I said yesterday in there?
Sure.
Just real quick. I don't like to take a lot of credit, but I do when I need to.
You said something.
Yesterday, 8:53 a.m. to Chuck Knuth, who was on site. Watch out for Cody Beals today.
Oh, nice.
Making the call. It's his first one. It was his first full, but he's actually seems like he's a really, really good dude. Engages really well with his followers and people in general. He does something really cool, I think, every year too. He does like a financial breakdown of what it's like to be a pro triathlete, and like how little bit they have to live off of, and like travel costs, which I found just fascinating. But anyway, yeah, kudos to him. And this is his first. He's coached. Coincidentally enough, he's coached by David Tilburz Davis, I think is how you pronounce his name. I'm sure I butchered it, but who was Lionel's quote-unquote coach / mentor / advisor last year. Lionel doesn't really like to have a quote-unquote coach.
Is that what it is? Yeah. And
yeah, but they don't work together anymore, so I thought that was a little bit interesting. But yeah, he's been crushing it at the 70.3s this year, and couldn't have happened to a better guy. So Cody Beals, I know you don't listen, but in case you do one day, congrats on that first win.
He might listen. He did seem like a cool guy. At the end, he actually in his little interview there with Mike Riley, he said he's been racing against Lionel for 10 years and never beat him or something like that.
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah.
And but yeah, he added to that meager triathlete salary. He added like $12,000 yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's probably his biggest payday.
Which again, that's amazing. Really, these guys. I've never seen his breakdown, but I have no idea what he makes or what kind of meager living they go by. But I assume like guys like him do some coaching or something too, or what, I don't know. But you think about pro triathletes and you compare it to all the little whiny we get in the big sports. These guys are making such crazy money. It's just insane. And I was actually kind of thinking about that, like, 4,000 people are watching this Facebook Live, and it's just I don't know how you make. I suppose, do you think triathlete or triathlon, like pro triathletes, do you think that trend as far as them making more money is going up, or do you think it's just going to get harder and harder?
It's going to get harder because they, for the most part, they don't matter.
Mm-hmm. I know. I was trying to think of how to make them matter. I mean,
they matter one day of the year, to be honest. I follow them pretty closely, but the way that the sport is laid out and the way that Ironman controls, the finances and race entries and the amount of races they have, and now they have races without pros and they still sell out. So it's like, and you're charging people between $750 and $900 a pop for a full, where pros don't even come to, and pros either get a free entry or I think maybe even a discount. They pay Ironman like a pro membership fee every year, and they need them. I think they need them as kind of like the icing to make it look more like a serious sport, but the age groupers are the cake. They provide the most. They provide 99.999% of all income for Ironman. So
yeah, it's just a tough watch. I think if I don't know. Obviously the Kona broadcast and the rebroadcast have a huge influence on the sport, but to try and watch a full Ironman for the normal person is ridiculous. And so it's the ITU thing. I think that's probably got a little more visual steam for spectators.
It's so much more fun to watch.
So then you get into like, well, how do you do that for Ironman? I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. There might be something there, maybe, but
yeah, it's not. There's nothing. It's all about the age group. Because even Kona, the biggest broadcast of the year, that doesn't aspire any new pros. It aspires more people to do triathlon, and those are the age groupers that make all the money.
Yeah. Speaking of which, dude, and we were talking about. I talked about this a little yesterday with you and a couple other people. It's just insane how fast people are getting these days.
Oh, good God, dude. The winner in my age group at Mont Tremblant yesterday.
8:30 or something, wasn't it?
He went under 9 hours.
Yeah.
Somebody check that. Somebody check that, man.
Well,
yeah, but it's crazy,
dude,
man.
There was a guy in 45:49, I think, that went under 9 hours.
It's really, yeah.
And we told you, our friend, he ended up kind of like struggling on the run, but I think he ended up going 11:15. He's 45:49. He got 48th place.
Yeah, that honestly though, that one, that's not that rare. I mean, because anything over 11 hours, anything over 11 hours, the thing is, it's probably 20 minutes was the difference between 48th and 20th. You know, like once you get to like that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, once you start to sandwich in, like, you know, you have the top 5 who are usually like clustered for the most part, or even the top 10. But then, like, once you get to that wide range, you have somebody coming in like every single minute, and you know, one bathroom break could cause you, 11 places. You know, with the way things are, laid out. So yeah, but
it's been getting that way. Yeah, I mean, I just think back to my first one in 2013. I was 50-54 or whatever, but I was 11:58, and I was like 30th. You know, but I'm sure but I don't know. Is that a tough course?
Yeah,
I thought it was too. I couldn't really tell.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, people just smashed it yesterday, but
an age grouper got 5th.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
That probably was the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, it's definitely a tough bike course. But yeah, I mean, and again, that's why I think I've talked about this since it's been a long time in terms of what podcast it was, but people look and plan out to do races, and you can't really look at the competition or whatever. You have to look at what placing was me in the top 10. What would get me in the top 10? A, you don't know who's going to show up, but B, you don't need to look at the time. You need to look at the trend, and nobody ever looks at the trend. And so you might see that if I go under 10:30, it might get me top 10. But what you need to look is what the trajectory has been on improvement in the previous years at the same race. And if it's like the times are always getting like 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5% faster of the previous year. So you don't need to aim for a 10:30. You probably need to aim for a 10:10. Because they're always getting back, but nobody does that. They like, previous years, so it's always like people aren't staying the same for the most part. People are getting better. It's only going to get harder. So you need to. It's you can't be obsessed with a number like that. That's arbitrary and always changing and fluid, because different people, different conditions, and people are getting faster. So the playing field isn't always level, it is, but the level's always rising, and most people are always behind a year. They're reactionary, not okay. Well, 10:30 might get me top 10, but if I really want top 10, I probably need to shoot for like a 9:50 to a 10 hours. To which is a lot, but it helps people think in terms of just paying attention to what it's really going to take, and kind of not dampening their expectations or their hopes and dreams or whatever, but like just making things that are realistic. That way it won't take them like 24 hours. Like, oh, you know what? I did do a lot better than X, Y, and Z. But yeah, people are just getting faster, and they're going to continue to get faster as age groupers take things more seriously, and equipment's different, and a couple more people get into the sport, and information and coaching and just being in the sport longer. It is brutal.
Yeah, you get I think the information piece is so huge, because you're starting to hear that more and more. Yeah, this so-and-so did their first Ironman and just absolutely won their age group, or like Cody yesterday's first Ironman, and won the whole thing. It's just like, I think that the information piece of that puzzle is so much. Back in the day, nobody knew how to do it, and now it's like the biggest challenge you got is just wading through all the excess information. But if you can, listen to this podcast consistently, you're on the right track.
Well, yeah, you're on some kind of track. I don't know what kind of track you're on.
Well, just pick a track and stay on it, man.
Exactly. Just pick a track and stay on it. And but we do appreciate you joining us. You got a topic for today?
I really I was kind of banking on you, buddy.
That's all right. It's all good. I got one.
You got one?
I got one. The Jenga tower that is Ironman training fatigue.
Oh, that would maybe have been mine if I would have dug deeper.
Yeah, well, it's a little early. You probably haven't got your shovel out yet.
No, you're right. You're right.
But, hey, I know we inched up to a little 8:30 starts this morning. I can feel you fading. Just get it back, buddy. Get it back. Yeah, but I was actually texting back and forth with an athlete of mine who's been and listen, if you are in like full on Ironman training or you're just dipping into it, like it is 100% totally common to feel a little grumpy, a little tired, and a little discouraged. Discouraged usually is just an after effect feeling thought from just being tired, because you're ramping up a load, but your body will adapt. But this athlete, I texted him and said, "Hey man, you're taking a day off today." He had a scheduled swim, and I was reading through his weekend's worth of comments on Training Peak Saturday and Sunday to kind of see what had gone on, what was good, what was not good, and just the numbers. The numbers didn't speak for what I thought should be happening, and then you can also, as I think it's so incredibly important with coaching and training, is to pay attention to the comments, because comments are what usually tell the whole story. And you can just kind of hear in somebody's voice / text how they're feeling. And this was kind of like more of a negative comment and just tiring overall. And so we were texting back and forth, and he was like, "Oh, well, I was really looking forward to swim today." And I said, "Well, your comments say otherwise." Because his comments, it's for some reason, like people, I think athletes that have coaches think like this anyway. They're like, "Oh, but no, I want to do it." Like I'm going to be disappointed in them not doing it. I'm like, well, that's totally contradictory to what I've seen and what you basically said the last 72 hours. So
let me ask you this. When you see the ellipsis, like the ... when you start seeing a lot of those, I think people are discouraged. That's just the theory I have.
What the hell does that even mean? I personally can't stand it.
How you doing? I'm pretty good. ...
I hate it. Hate it. There's nothing on it.
It's like, okay.
They're probably going to send me like a million ... dots now, but
what do you want me to say to you? It's like, okay, you pretty good.
I get it. ... It leaves like everything else up to assumption.
It really does. It's like, but
hey, dude, doing pretty good. ... I'm like, if you had time to do in 4 dots, you had at least a couple more time to put in a couple more words. So get your shit together and give me some information.
It's just like,
don't be lazy.
It's a silent cry.
It is. It's like, ask me more. Ask me more. And usually I'm just like, usually I just respond with like a, okay, ... So like, I can play your dot game. Yeah, it is. It's like the ... is like the Morse code cry for help for text messaging. It is. It's the worst. I can't stand it when that happens, and I've got plenty of athletes to do it. I love you guys, but come on.
I wasn't even sure, but I was just kind of.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do. ... You obviously didn't know what you were supposed to do with this text message either, because you only threw in 4 dots instead of another sentence. But
that'd be a great T-shirt.
That would be.
I'm pretty good. ... Robbie Krausen, get to work on that, please.
Right? Yeah, seriously. Actually, the athlete we're talking about is Robbie Krausen. ... But that's in. We may probably change, but that should be the title of our podcast. Podcast 191. We talk about ...
I've always wanted to do that, actually. The podcast about nothing.
We're doing it. And if you've listened to this, you've already seen it, so you're welcome. But anyway, back to what I was trying to talk about. ... Was the Jenga load that is Ironman training. So I told him day off today. Just take it. You need it. And then we were just kind of going back and forth, and he's like, "Well, maybe it was my too much of an effort the previous weekend." and he went way over. Not I won't say way over, but he did 25% more, so about an hour longer on his bike ride, and went hard on that hour. We're not talking like an easy chill hour. I'm talking like just a really solid hour. And I commented to him. I said, "Yeah, man." I said, just kind of read it verbatim so I don't. Yeah, I said over an hour on your ride might not seem like a big deal, but when you add it to an already heavy load, anything extra could be the Jenga piece that makes it all crumble. And that is, so much. And I know we talked about it a lot in this time of year, but I think it's applicable to most people's training where they are, whether it's their 70.3. Like, load is relative. If you're doing an Olympic or a 70.3 or full, whatever you're doing, or a marathon, like, you're still, if you're getting close within 4, 5, 6 weeks, you are getting fairly close to your peak time, which usually means peak volume, and that's also relative to what you're normally used to. So whether it's 6 hours, 8, 12, 20, it's still relative. So to you, it's still heavy load. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm not doing an Ironman 7.3, it's still a relative conversation. Yeah. Because an increase in load is just that, it's an increase in load. So, but the point is that, we always have this tendency to want to do more. More. I gotta do more, and gotta do more, and more will be better for me.
I know.
And while that sounds good, and in some aspects it is good and right, but it's about the application. It's not about the number. And so when that's like total obsession with the tree and no understanding or awareness of the forest. Like, oh, well, make a 3.5 hour ride a 5 hour ride today? Done. And then you wake up tomorrow and you're like, oh, my legs feel like rocks. Oh, and I've got this hour and 45-minute run. Well, crap. And so now your run's going to suck, totally. And you're like, oh, I could have had a really good ride and a really good run and moved on to Monday, Tuesday and been fine. But now I'm like, okay, now I have to rearrange things and take a step back and recalibrate, because you have this happy medium balance between I gotta do a little bit more because I'll be better, and it's clashing with I don't feel like I'm gonna be ready, so I gotta do more. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, guess what? Well, now you're taking a Monday off because you didn't listen, and you didn't not you didn't listen, but what seemed like and truly probably was a good idea in the moment, if you don't want, it's what are you gonna cause to cascade? Is it going to be a cascade of increased fitness or a cascade of increased fatigue to where you're going to need a significant amount of time to ramp it up? And that's why, when athletes ask to switch things or move things, I have to be very careful about, yes, that's fine. No, that's fine. But if you do, I need you to be aware of this. Or, don't do this because now you're going to have a significant negative effect going forward. And we obviously don't want that. We want significant positive effects moving forward. And yes, you're going to be tired, but it's all about managing that fatigue and being like, hey, do you need a day? Do you not need a day? My athletes see a very high uptick in the famous "How's it going?" text. Although I do put "How's it going?" ? Because how's it going? How are you feeling? Because it's a lot of load a lot of the time. And I like to just make sure that things are good. I think this morning alone, I made 4 or 5 adjustments to athletes' plans that I'm working with who have a race coming up in the next 45, 60 days, or 2 weeks. Because it's that thing. It's you want to keep the balance of fatigue as close to even as you can, without it just totally avalanching one way or the other. And it's a delicate balance, and it takes a lot of trust, and I think overall it's just something you have to just trust it, and then always weigh the pros and cons of is this going to be a positive or a detriment to my training.
It's almost like fatigue needs to have its own continuum, 0 fatigue to 10 fatigue, and you want to be in the 5-6 range, or I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because that 10 fatigue can throw that cascading failure into effect.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I just want to throw out because, I have been busting pretty hard, but I knew, like I've talked about before with people who are, self-coached or whatever, going into their Ironman in 60 days or 40 days or whatever the heck it is now, and how I recommend highly, maybe exploring the idea of having you kind of coach those last couple months, because that fatigue is what I always get concerned about. You and I talk all the time, like every day, and we're always, I consider you my full-on coach, even though you may or may not know it all the time, but it's always there. And I've been talking about this getting more specific as we get in. I've got 58 days or 57 or whatever it is, and it's so funny because we had just been talking about the training plan that you kind of started executing for me here as we get closer, and I've totally been going over the other way. When I saw the training plan, I was actually kind of like, damn, that just was a relief a little bit for me.
You think it was gonna be more?
Yeah. I mean, because I have been, like, based on what I've been, because I'll do that, what you were talking about, kind of, oh, man, I got to do more. And then also, I don't know if it's going to get it done. I'm not worried about as far as, like, getting it done as finishing, but, I have, like, certain goals, and I want to kind of push the envelope. And I think I've been maybe pushing too hard, to be honest. Maybe not, like, as far as going too long all the time, but like I definitely feel like, looking at what's going on with the schedule now, that I've been pushing the dangerous side of it, as far as like feeling like I need to push, and I think I can push or whatever, and then I just didn't want it to catch up with me. And I think it's about the perfect timing of looking at how you actually lay things out and pay attention. That's going to be a huge advantage at moving forward here.
Yeah, listen, like, are you going to be, hard pressed when it comes to, like pushing your limits? Absolutely. But I think there's a difference in working really, really, really hard and just continuing on like that fatigue training continuum that is, that increase in load. And while you never have to some sessions are meant to be quote unquote hard, but then there's just straight, hard because hard is relative. Mm-hmm. Hard to you could mean 4 hours easy. Hard could also mean an hour and a half with just like crazy intensity, mm-hmm. But it's like, it's balancing that fatigue and that effort of, quote unquote hard, and how long it's got to be, because you can't do it every day, because the hardest day you should have, and that's why I can't stand like the train hard, race easy. Like, that's so much utter bullcrap. Like, just stop saying it. Like, because that's no such thing as race hard, train easy. Nobody. If you race easy, then you're doing everything totally back-asswards. And what you should be doing is you're training to a point to where you can race your hardest. That's the point. Is to be able to race hard and give everything you have. But oftentimes, and that's like one of my biggest drawbacks and reasons behind like those like 20+ mile like hard runs, is that at least people just shelled mm-hmm. for so long that they lose. I think that building endurance and building a base and building durability is very important. Got it, love it, all for it, thumbs up. But it's like hard all the time. Like I often question, and I often see this, is like, you won't be able to go hard when the time matters, because like you're just continuously. Okay, look, listen. There's a gigantic difference in training your body to be durable enough to withstand a pounding on race day and get everything you have one time, versus basically each week taking like a sledgehammer to your foundation. Like, you're not building it, you're just taking a dent out of it, mm-hmm. and another dent and another dent and another dent. And then oftentimes what happens is on race day it's the final dent and you crumble, or you can't even swing the sledgehammer, so you just don't. And it's a fine line. It's incredibly complex, and what is too hard and what is too much and what is not enough and what is too easy. And listen, every athlete is different. Some can handle a load, some can't. Some, they have life. Everybody's life is different. They're married or not married, kids, no kids. 50-hour work weeks, no work.
Getting older.
So, getting older. It's like, so there's just a lot of different things, but it's oftentimes people will go too hard. And listen, can you go? You can go too hard for sure on the bike, and it's going to penalize you for a day or two probably. But you go way too hard and you do it on a long run.
Who knows?
Who knows? So it is. It's that,
It's funny you mention that, because
just those little stepping stones.
I was, as it's been well documented in previous podcasts, I've always had trouble running long easy. And so that's why I implemented my run strategy to force me to slow down. That's really what it is. And I was actually thinking about that yesterday or 2 days ago on the bike, because I have the same issue on the bike, that if I'm going to go out and ride, like 4 hours relatively, at, zone 2, or just try and get something like that in on a bike, it's almost impossible for me. So I was trying to figure out a way to kind of back that down too, because I went out the other day and I was going to go 4. I ended up going 3, and it was just a hell buster of a ride, I was like, geez. I was like, I couldn't even think about 4 at some point, because I was, doing, extended intervals, and I did hill repeats and all this other shit. And, I sucked it up, and that's kind of been my MO too. Is like the one thing I don't or haven't done is I think I've gone hard short a lot for my training, and then on race day I ended up having to just dig as deep as possible, and thankfully I'm not hurt and whatever, and I can just pull it together. But that's not the way to do it either, So I'm looking for a balance. But yeah, so sometimes usually rides. I mean. Well, put it this way: if I do a hard 1.5 to 2 hour ride, that usually doesn't cave me up that hard.
Right.
But if I go 3+ and I'm trying to do them intense, that can shelve me.
Yep.
And that's kind of what happened, So with no real kind of easy zone 2 stuff in there, other than for the first 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, dude, you gotta take longer to warm up, man.
I know, dude.
People are so obsessed with, like, that's another thing. Like, people are so obsessed with like the like average, like your average heart rate or effort or miles per hour or power for like the whole entire ride.
Oh, I know.
So they jump into it at like 1. I'm like, that's like just as like you'll hear every single like really, really good run coach say, your first mile should always be your slowest. Always. If it's not, you did it wrong. Unless it's like, you have like a huge undulating terrain and like there's a giant hill, got it. But other than that, like the same, like your first, like on these long rides, like when you're super fatigued, the first 30, 60, sometimes even 90 minutes should just be like a slow wake-up session for your legs. And then you start doing what matters, instead of like jumping onto I've got to do this from like right out of the gate, because it never ends up poorly. You just practice staying the same speed. You never practice, and you'll read a million articles about this, and you hear from a million different coaches in a million different ways. There is a time and a place for quote unquote race effort, but majority of the time your time should be spent below and above. And most people don't do that, especially with like running. They just run the same pace every single day they go out the door, and wonder why all they do is run 8 minutes. Well, guess what? You always run 8 minutes. So what do you expect? Same thing with cycling. Like you want to be able to throw it down on intervals instead of not being able to, because you started the first hour not easy. You jumped right into like, a steady pace, trying to maintain this, whatever it is. And then you can't hit your intervals, so you're not preparing to do better on race day. You've already conceded what you're going to be on race day. And a lot of athletes do that with swim, bike, and run.
Yeah.
Swimming, especially when just the distance, they just do the distance, the distance, the distance, the distance, the distance, and wonder why they can't get any faster when all they do is swim 2.4 miles without stopping and think that's better for them than doing interval work.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Every workout isn't a race.
No, it's not. But
I think
neither is going slow for a long time. That's not preparing you to do anything but go slow for a long time.
Yeah, and you prepare yourself to go slow, and then you're really preparing yourself to go slower in the race. Because even if I've fallen down that bucket before where I'm just going to train endurance and build up my 9-minute pace for that Ironman run, and then no chance.
Yeah. No chance.
Zero.
Zilch.
I mean, I've become an expert at nailing that for the first 9 miles. And it's funny how those 11-minute paces average that thing out quickly.
Yeah, it's an explosive 8 or 9 miles.
It's not explosive, man. It's just like, yeah, okay, I got this through 8, and then between 8 and 9, it turns into a battle royal, and that pace average starts dipping down, and it's like, I was thinking about that, man. It's like, I really, if nothing else, I want to start slow this year because psychologically it'd be really fun to see that average pace drop as you run.
Yep.
Rather than knowing that you can't hold it. I mean, that happened last year, and I just shut my watch off. I was like, you know what? I can't do it.
Well, I think that, that's like one of the biggest things, like the one of the biggest reasons I'm an advocate for, the watch is if you're going to come out too hot and you can just use it to come out too slow.
Oh yeah.
Come out slow enough, and then turn it off or, change the field or whatever it is, but definitely there's in long runs and things that are purpose, like you want to finish, you want to pace yourself so you finish strong and hard, not a total death march back to your car. Whether it's, a long ride or a long run, or you have to get out of the pool early, like that's not what you're looking for. You want to be able to throw it down on tired legs, not pitter patter your way to the finish line on shot legs.
Yeah. And then, back to the discussion of the podcast, understanding that fatigue and working with it along the way and not going too far with it until you, what's the mantra is, it's better to go into a race, you say under-trained, but maybe under-fatigued.
Oh, yeah. You want to be super fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Super, super fresh instead of being like, I still feel like I'm feeling the lingering effects of that, 20, whatever, mile run or whatever. Or, that 6-hour ride, that I did. And you want to feel like crazy fresh for a full. Not just from, a physical standpoint, but from a mental, emotional standpoint. Like, think about it. The same thing applies in racing as it does in training. When you get tired, when you feel wore out, when you can't hit your numbers, you immediately question yourself and you get negative. The same thing applies to the race.
Yeah.
If you're going and even like remotely tired, or you're going to get tired quicker, or your fatigue's going to set in earlier, well, guess what thoughts are more than likely going to happen? Negative thoughts. I can't do this. Or you don't have the emotional and mental energy to shut your body up, or your mind up, or the bad thoughts up. And a lot of people lose those in training, because I'll be the first to tell you, I think the most understated aspect of the detriment to most long course athletes is this whole mantra of like the Sufferfest and the grind. Do you know how many grinds you got in you? Not many. You see what happened to people who grind their way? They grind their way to nowhere. So we talk about all the time. Like, you have maybe 1 or 2 matches to burn each year, and I'm talking like 1 or 2 like of your biggest. I'm going to lay it all on the table. I don't care about recovery. I'm just going to give it all. You've got 1 or 2 of those a year, period, that your body can handle. The same goes for your mind and your emotions and your ability to control them and the amount of energy you have to put behind them. In a big race, whether it's a small one, a medium-sized one, a long one, whatever it is, asks just as much of you mentally and emotionally as it does of you physically, if not more, I believe.
Yeah.
And if you go through like these super long, grind out, demolishing sets of swim, bike, run sessions every single weekend that just keep taking a chinks away in your armor mentally, physically, and emotionally, you ain't gonna have nothing left on race day. So have fun. And I know that is counterintuitive to a lot of what you may read or what you may hear or what you've been told, but practicing suffering, your medal isn't going to be any bigger. Sorry. And more than likely your time is going to be slower. You just have to be fresh, ready to get to a point to where you can unleash it on one day, not practicing it with a 1-hour swim, a 100-mile ride, and a 14-mile brick. Like, you're honestly not getting any better when you do that. I hate to break it to you. You're not getting any better. You're just becoming more tired, and you're going to give yourself 5 days to recover, which is actually losing 5 days of what you could do to get better and faster. You don't get any faster. Sorry. You're just practicing being the same speed. And people absolutely obsess and nail that aspect of Ironman training, you're just practicing staying the same speed. And that's why it's so important to incorporate running. If you're going to run long, have some intervals, but have your hardest running being on the back end, running your fastest on tired legs, not going out and running 3.5 hours. It's just, there's so much, because you're practicing endurance, but you're actually also practicing getting faster. There's just so many things you can do, but it's confusing information, but it is. A lot of people are like consumed with practicing, their current speed. It's just, people do it. I get it. It's all out there. It's just, it's hard to sift through.
But you can, like, on those intervals, like you were just saying, that running faster towards the end and stuff like that, and those are, to me, is just like little snippets of practicing that mental fatigue thing. It's like it's a different, if you can put your mindset in, after a hill repeats or after whatever, right after that, you're going to feel that suffer right then. It's just going to be at a different place and a different level, and for a shorter period of time. It's sort of like, that's how I ground my suffering. Is like, I try to pay attention to how I feel there. And it's like, okay, how do I, like maybe after a hill repeat workout or whatever, I'll come back and then I'll be like, damn, that just wiped me and gassed me. And I'll feel a little bit gassed. But my whole effort then is just all about how do I get more relaxed and how do I find deal with that mental feeling and physical feeling, but just sort of kind of come out of it or something, because I don't want to feel like that and then just run for another hour and a half, feeling that.
Seriously.
I just want to like practice that suffering, but in short doses, you know what I mean? Just to have a feeling of it, just so it's, anyway.
There's a lot of ways to incorporate it. And you just have to be aware and make sure you're executing it the best way possible. I had like one of my favorite long runs is what I call 15s. It's 15-minute warm up and a 15-minute cool down, but the run itself is 2 hours and 15 minutes. And like I said, the first 15 are all super easy, but then the way you go through is you just go through 15-minute increments of descending. Each 15-minute increment needs to be faster. And it's such a long run that you have to really be conservative on where you start. because you know that if you don't, then A, you didn't execute it well, and execution, is huge. So I had an athlete that did this run, and the first hour, the average pace was 9:55, and then the last hour and 5 minutes came home at 9:12. And so great execution, running faster on tired legs. Obviously, if you're fresh, you're gonna be faster than that anyway, and then on tired legs anyway. So there's a lot of ways you can incorporate it in, but you just have to be careful and precise and pay attention.
Yeah, I like it.
You gonna go out for a little 2.5 hour jaunt this afternoon?
No. I've got 45 minutes easy. I'm gonna eat it up, man.
Eat it up.
After the swim, of course.
Yeah, it's all good. What else? You got anything else?
Not really, man. I got nothing else.
Hey, sometimes better short, sweet, to the point. You guys get the drift. We have some camp openings. If you want to check it out for next year, all of our camps are over this year. They were all sold out. Everybody had a great time, unless they're all lying to me, which could be the case. I do have to say, of all like the compliments that I enjoy hearing about camp and how much they love connecting with other people and how how surprised they are that like 25 strangers can like come together and have such an awesome time, become best friends. It's that most of them also, I'll say that the camp experience not only met but exceeded expectations. And so that's incredibly important to me that everybody has a good time and everything goes off really, really well. So if you're interested, we'll put a link in the show notes. You can sign up to the ones that are open. I think at the current moment we have 65 people already signed up for 2019. So those will sell out quick. And then here in the next week or two, I imagine we'll have a somewhat special announcement that Mike and I will put forth about camp in 2019. If you have any questions about what we do, want to figure out the whole scope of what it is we do, you can always go to crushingiron.com, check out the website, one-stop shop, gear, swim analysis, our blog, some of Mike's awesome tribute videos. We got some videos at camp up there too. Podcast links, coaching and training packages, all the fun stuff is all there. If you have any questions for Mike, you can always hit him up at crushingiron@gmail.com, or you can hit me up at c26coach@gmail.com. We'll do the best to get back to you. Make sure you subscribe and review us on iTunes, and if you have any special requests for a topic for our 200th episode, feel free to weigh in.
Feel free to weigh in. One more thing I would like to say about the camp, and what I hear a lot that really makes me happy is that a lot of people come into camp with, I don't want to say low confidence, but just questioning some of their abilities, A, to, get through the camp, and B, as where they're at in their training. And then it's like almost everyone I ever talk to says that they have overcome an obstacle or left camp way more confident as far as their riding usually and or running and swimming. And it's just one of those cool things that you kind of come in when a little uncertain about, it's a little microcosm of maybe doing a race. It's like you come in and you're not sure if you can do it, and then you do it, and then you leave with more confidence. Yeah. And that has all skill levels. That applies to everyone, up and down the board, sort of, quasi-beginners to, people who have done several Ironmans. I think most people kind of get that same feeling because of what we end up doing.
Yeah, agreed.
So Crushing Iron Group is what you search on Facebook, and we'll let you in a closed group. That's where a lot of
as long as you don't have like some weird name and you haven't been on Facebook for all of 12 hours and you're getting blocked.
For the most part. Okay, man. I guess that wraps it up.
We'll see you Thursday. Hopefully, I've had to reschedule, I think, guests for the week, but I think we should have them on Thursday. So be on the lookout, and then we'll post, hopefully, when we get that set schedule, but we will have a guest coming up soon on the Thursday podcast.
Guest on Thursday podcast, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Good guest we got?
I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
Pretty confident.
And it's going to be, it should be of high interest to many of you.
Yes, and we'll just say this. It could be a very timely podcast.
Okay. ...
Dot.
All right, man. That's been a great one.
Yep. Talk to you on Thursday.
Get rest. Don't be fatigued out there.
That's right. Don't be fatigued.
All right. See you, buddy.
See you, dude.